My studio represents me. It is messy, but the chaos is calming for me because it numbs the chaos in my actual life. I was greatly affected by my disability over the past year, and when it began to affect my practice, I chose to make it a part of my work. Plaster, gauze, and coffee were used symbolically to channel the experience of chronic pain. Plaster reacts like my body does to pain. It is pliable for a short time, but when it becomes rigid, it must be handled with care. Gauze was used metaphorically to represent the facade holding the wounds together, and coffee is like blood. It thickens and thins, but it is what keeps me alive. This exhibition will continually evolve. As a fully accessible exhibition, every touch will add or subtract from the original state, and it is this ephemerality that truly comments on the rarity of feeling physically well.
Tansei. Creating the Continuum series involved a lot of self-reflection and experimentation. For me personally, what really cemented everything was simply talking about my process with my thesis professors. From there, it was about getting the ideas from my head onto paper, so to speak. This was done through the use of thumbnailing, the goal of which is to get concepts down on paper. Some of these designs didn't make it to the final stage, but they more or less hadn't changed much from their inception. The next part in my process was deciding on the colors. There was a lot of trial and error, and initially I went for a naturalistic color palette. The trees were green, the bark was brown, the grass was green, etc. But I ended up really not liking the colors because I wanted to convey something much deeper through the work, and that's why I eventually settled on using a limited color palette. From there, it was a matter of choosing the colors that would represent my past, present, and future, and then doing the line art. Personally, the line art stage is very intimidating, but I explored brushes I never used before and a program called Clip Studio Paint that I was a novice in. But to get better at anything, you have to at least start. So through patience and many hours of hitting the Control-Z button, the lines were done. Now it was just a matter of coloring, and this part was my favorite because watching everything come together made all of the hard work I did over the past year worth it.
During the thesis exhibition program, I learned quite a lot about myself. Through art experimentation, I got to try new ways of working with new mediums, which was exciting for me. My style of art making is working within the moment with a vision in mind. The vision did not work for some of the artwork I was producing. I will share with you 3 artworks that did not make it into my exhibition Evolving. The first work I created in the thesis exhibition was a painted creating on a structured canvas. The work was a representation of my emotional turmoil over time. The work referenced spaces like my grandparents' place. I was at my lowest point mentally when I entered university. I was faced with questioning. I wanted to transfer the chaotic emotions to memory to create a fantasy space. Over time, I realized that I was not interested in representing every little memory I had in one painting. I wanted my work to have some ambiguity. After creating this work, I decided that I was not going to continue creating work on a structured canvas because I wanted the surface and medium to speak for themselves. A thank you note was initially the first step to the creation of the work, The Open Closet. My mindset during the creation of this work was my way of verbally expressing my gratitude to those who have supported me. The thesis committee, who were my 3 art professors, led me to change my mind completely. Their reactions said everything I needed to understand what direction I had to go next with my thesis exhibition. This work transformed into the audio recording that is in the exhibition. This work was a breakthrough moment for me because it led me to raise the bar by working in new ways like the audio recording and curated space. Denial, linoleum printed on paper. The main reason why I eliminated this work was the process of printmaking is very time consuming. Also for this work, it would require a lot of experimentation that would take a long time. I only had 3 months until my work was going to be exhibited in the student gallery. I knew realistically that I would not have enough time to finish the work. Working with printmaking for a brief time let me prioritize working with mediums I was skilled in, which would take a lot less time to create.